Do the American people deserve to be abused like that, Mr. Fauci? Because you're not doctor. You're Mr. Fauci in my few minutes.
Heated House hearing. Couldn't quite stay on the rails for very long as House Republicans, in that case Marjorie Taylor Greene, ripped into Dr. Anthony Fauci over the origins of the COVID-19 pandemic and the response to it. Fauci appearing before Congress for the first time since he stepped down as the director of the National Institute for Allergy and Infectious Diseases. Yes, there were theatrics and fireworks, but this also was an important hearing. It is critical that we learn from our mistakes, but it's equally important we don't just scapegoat for the sake of political points. So both sides' positions should be heard. For starters, Dr. Fauci answered accusations that he literally made up the 6-foot social distancing rules, headlines generated last week from the release of a transcript of his previous testimony to the House. Testimony reading in part, quote, "I don't recall, it just sort of appeared. I don't recall like a discussion of whether it should be 5 or 6 or whatever, just an empiric decision that wasn't based on data or even data that could be accomplished." He was pressed on that today.
You made up the COVID rules, including
I didn't hear what you
6
said.
feet social distancing and masking of children.
I never said I made anything up.
You admitted that you made it up. You made it up as you
I didn't say
went.
I made it up.
So are you saying this is fake news, Mr. Fauci?
I didn't say I made anything up.
What did you say?
I said that it is not based in science and it just appeared.
And then again,
When saying it just appeared, it came from the CDC.
Okay, you stated that earlier. What was your relationship with the CDC when you saw a regulation which was not based in the current science?
Well, when I say was not based in science, I meant a prospective clinical trial to determine whether 6 foot was better than 3, was better than 10.
But once we realized that the virus was not spread by droplets and was aerosolized, did you feel an indication to go back to the CDC and said, let's base this on science. Let's get rid of this 6-foot rule. This 6-foot rule crippled businesses. It allowed students to stay at home and not learn. Americans suffered. And that suffering continues because the fracture of trust in American scientists continues to this day. Did you not feel an obligation for something that just sort of appeared, not to go back to the CDC and say, let's base this on what we know?
It was a CDC decision, and it was clear.
Were you dialoguing with the CDC?
Excuse me?
Were you in communication with the CDC?
CDC was part of the coronavirus response team. Yeah.
And you didn't feel an obligation to go to them and say, look, Americans aren't going to trust us. Yeah. We're providing them with misinformation.
We have discussions at the White House about that. We did, but the CDC's decision and was their decision to make, and they made it.
Fauci also responding to critics who claimed he tried to cover up the origins of COVID, that he tried to persuade other scientists away from the lab leak theory as opposed to the disease having mutated organically. He addressed that throughout the hearing.
Was it so important the virus not have started in a lab?
Wasn't so important that the virus not. We don't know.
Do you agree that there was a push to downplay the lab leak theory?
Not on my part.
Really?
Really?
Wow.
Wow.
I think most of the country would find that amazing. I still got 11 seconds.
But look at the facts. I've kept an open mind throughout the entire process.
In his opening statement, Fauci addressed that more in depth, quoting an email he sent early in the pandemic, letting a counterpart know that that guy should express his concerns about possible evidence of a lab leak to the authorities, and he said he would do the same.
It is inconceivable that anyone who reads this email could conclude that I was trying to cover up the possibility of a lab leak. I have always kept an open mind to the different possibilities. The accusation being circulated that I influenced these scientists to change their minds by bribing them with millions of dollars in grant money is absolutely false and simply preposterous. I had no input into the content of the published paper.
And in questioning, Dr. Fauci continued to deny he downplayed anything as Republicans pressed him on it.
Today you testified that you did not suppress the lab leak theory, yet in the past you have said, quote, it is a distortion of reality, unquote. You've said, quote, I've heard these conspiracy theories, and like all conspiracy theories, they're just conspiracy theories. That's what you told the American people. And so would you like to clarify what science were you following then versus now?
No, I've also been very, very clear and said multiple times that I don't think the concept of there being a lab leak is inherently a conspiracy theory. What is conspiracy is the kind of distortions of that particular subject, like it was a lab leak and I was parachuted into the CIA like Jason Bourne and told the CIA that they should really not be talking about a lab leak.
The question then pivots to how much in royalties Fauci's made since the pandemic, which he replies, nothing, basically nothing. Now, there's something Democrats and Republicans seem to agree on, that there were scientists in the upper level of bureaucracy, including some seemingly close to Fauci, who may have acted inappropriately, most notably a researcher named Dr. Peter Daszak, who recently had received a federal grant and who worked with a lab in Wuhan, and a top advisor to Fauci named Dr. David Morenz, who appeared to be trying to avoid public records laws by going back and forth on personal emails. And when questioned on mask mandates and other COVID measures, he stood by them.
And ask you to give me a yes or no as to whether you believe these measures were justified. Business closures?
Early on, when 5,000 people were dying a day, yes.
Church closures?
Same thing.
School closures?
Again, the
stay-at-home orders?
These were important when we were trying to stop the tsunami of deaths that were occurring early on. How long you kept them going is debatable.
Mask mandates for adults, mask mandates for children, mask mandates for children under 5.
All of that is in the context of, at the time, 4,000 to 5,000 people a day were dying.
And then Democrats were defending Fauci.
Can you please share with us the nature of the threats you have received since the start of the COVID-19 pandemic?
Everything from harassments by emails, texts, letters of myself, my wife, my 3 daughters. There have been credible death threats leading to the arrests of 2 individuals, and credible death threats means someone who clearly was on their way to kill me. It is very troublesome to me. It is much more troublesome because they've involved my wife and my 3 daughters.
Maybe the moral is that Fauci is just a man, flawed and not unassailable, as perhaps some have suggested, but someone who tried to do the right thing and not a wizard orchestrating a mass cover-up either. He's also 83. Listen to that back and forth. Don't tell me it's about someone's age. Oh, he's 81, he's old. This guy's 83, he's going back and forth.
Thank you for watching. Go to NewsNationNow.com to find NewsNation on your cable provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.